चलेगी। और सुबह 4 बजे उठ के सोचने में, ये अभी तो बस शुरुआत है। किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान है, वही कल जमीन पर तो था। पूछोगे तो बताएगा वो पंछी, ये एक दायरे में सिमटने में और पूरी दुनिया को दायरा बनाने में बस इतना सा फर्क है। इतना कितना है? इतना है या इतना है? जो नापेगा वो जाने कि जहां धरती और आसमान मिलते हैं, नानपुर से दूर, अगर मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा है। में फर्क इतना सा ये हमारी हाँ मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा है। ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। Franchise India, 20 years of ideas.
Good afternoon, one and all. Thank you so much for joining us today for yet another exciting and interactive session of Business Opportunity Over Chai series. Franchise India, the brand which was established in 1999, giving opportunity to all the international and national brands to represent their brands to all our potential business buyers. We have also helped 41,000 business buyers to get their business from us through our 70 plus network offices. Today, we welcome you to the 83rd edition of Business Opportunity with Chai series, an initiative which we have taken to present all the new brands to each one of you. We welcome our first panel member, Mr. Gaurav Maria, who is a chairman at Franchise India Group, along with our second panel member, Ms. Sonia Chaudhary. She is the MD at Franchise India Brands Limited. And today, we are trying to give you yet another exciting business opportunity. The brand of the day is Toto Good Food. And Toto Good Food is India's fastest growing food on street service chain that provides safe food on the go food. And we have privilege that we have Nilima ma'am today with us. She's a co-founder at Toto Good Food. Thank you so much, Nilima ma'am, for joining us today. Over to you to present your business opportunity with all our business buyers who have joined us today digitally. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you for the opportunity today to actually introduce this brand and the product services to wider audience. I would like to quickly take you through what Ganymede is as a business. So Ganymede is actually the parent company who owns the brand Toto Good Food. Ganymede was formed with a vision of providing safe food on the go for the people on the street who consume food every day on street. Our vision clearly has been to be the world's largest food on street service chain, which provides safe and tasty food and at affordable prices to people on the go who consume food on street on a daily basis. This was formed with a simple purpose to energize the world and provide employment to the people on the street, create street entrepreneurs, and also create a healthier society that can nourish people who consume food on street every day. How we are doing it in the country is by creating a food service brand which stands for the mass India and is identified as a single symbol of safe, hygienic, affordable, and tasty food for consumers eating on street on a daily basis. Truly, it's a fortune to be created at the bottom of pyramid, and we take pride in saying that we serve so many people on street on an everyday basis. It's a sector which is fully untapped and is a huge sector with 4,09,000 crore industry. It's growing year on year because eating out is a phenomena is also growing year on year. More and more people who come out from villages to urban centers due to rapid urbanization, also the people who go on street to find daily wage earners, the students who go on street because they have no choice than to consume on street while they have no time to cook food at home. And many people who are actually working in the market. For all these segments, this is a segment which is growing on year at 10%. If you look at this chart, it clearly talks about 66% of the food service industry is still unorganized, and out of which 43% is a huge segment, which is a standout segment. I will take you through what is standout segment. And in that standout segment, close to 34% is our addressable market proposition, which includes quick service food and meals, which is 10%. And this industry 2019 to 2022 is projected to grow at 10%. So total market, which is today non-addressed, untapped, and creates a huge addressable market, is one of the big potential for this business model. In this program, we target to the people who are on the street. You can see on the right side, majority of the people who eat on street, you can relate to. When you walk on street, you see so many thelawalas, so many street stalls who always have customers on their side to actually consume food. Restaurants may be empty, hotels may be empty. Even now, when you go on street during the pandemic, you will find this set of consumers still standing there consuming food. Those are the people who are probably bikers, drivers, construction workers, laborers, all these people, and students who are stepping out for tuitions or stepping out for whatever reason. They still find these food for their daily consumption, including chai consumption. So who are the target consumer? Target consumer are the people who are moving on street and consuming food for their, for either for livelihood or commercial or social engagement. And they have the ability to spend not more than 10 to 100 rupees on their food per day. The kind of pictures we tell you who are the consumer segment. It's not for the people who are street food lovers. They are additional segment which can come if the food is hygienic and is served neat and clean way. But the primary consumer are the consumer whom you can see on the picture. The consumer which we talked about are looking for food which are affordable. It's easily accessible. You can see on the street kind of consumers. The food has to be tasty and filling, and there cannot be waiting time on street for 20 minutes for them to cook and serve. So these are quick prepared and quick served food. So those are the main consumption drivers. Our business model talks about an integrated value chain where food processors who can cook fresh food and deliver to the carts, franchise distributors who can create or nurture street entrepreneurs on street, Ganymede, which talks about the complete portfolio and risk management to leverage the network, and street vendors who can order and sell through our app for income stability and access to credit. So this is one of its kind, unique, first of its kind integrated network in the country, which actually brings food processor, franchise distributors, company like us, and street vendors on one platform in an integrated value chain. This is the operating model, which is known as kitchen to cart delivery through app. The street cart actually orders on our Toto app. Through those orders, it goes to the nearest kitchen, which is food processing center. Food processing center cooks food and delivers to the cart on a van or a bike. Consumers who is offline only needs to locate these kind of pit shop, the branded pit shops on the street, eat and go. So it's a perfect combination of online, which is backend, and offline for the consumer who are on street, who can't order from Swiggy or Zomato. They have to find out, locate these kind of street outlets and consume food. And that's how this online and offline world comes together in this model. Each cluster, we call it a cluster approach, which is a hyper-local cluster approach. Each food processing center serves to around 100 carts, and those 100 carts are managed by one distributor. And that's how this network is created. We wish to create around 2,000 such clusters. And cluster is very simple: one food processor, one distributor, and 100 carts on street, 100 carts or street stalls on street. This picture depicts how it works from the food processing center to multiple 100 outlets on the street. Distributor connects them, and the app is the technology to bring them on one platform. This is our app through which all the street stalls which gets registered, we give them a unique identity, which is digital identity to the street vendors. Because of the digital identity, they get access to credit through bank or through us or through the distributors. Their consumer behavior is totally mapped to actually help them do predictive analysis and forecast of their demand. It also enables the complete ordering and invoicing system. Outlet delivery from kitchen to the cart is completely mapped, tracked, and supplied till the time it's supplied to the outlets. And there are multiple brand promotions and merchandising available to create demand and bring increased footfall for enhanced income of these street stalls. As I was talking about, it's smart placement in the cities through the street stalls and carts for easy accessibility to the consumer. Each of these street carts, because of the app, is geo-tagged. There is proprietary app for digitization. Location is mapped by us in the city, which are natural congregation points wherein consumer automatically comes without creating congestion in the city and the traffic. Food processing centers are also mapped with city, with its PIN code and the cluster which we talked about. So it's an amalgamation of close to 2,000 food processing centers and close to 2,000 such cluster of street outlets in the market. And that leads to 2,000 food processing centers serving to close to 2 lakh street vendors in the country. And that's the magnanimous, that's the scale of this model which we are talking, and we seek partnership and more hands to join us to create this mega network in the country in next coming months. The food we are talking about is hyper local. Each city will have its own set of popular best. Ganymede will ensure that those food are hygienically mass produced, industrialized, with proprietary recipe customized to the taste of the city. Those food price points are also mapped to the city. If city has 10 rupees at the price point, the food, because of integrated value chain, delivers at 10 rupee price point. It's served within 5 to 7 kilometer radius from the food kitchen. So that means the carts are within 5 to 7 kilometers of the food processing centers. The brand in which we are selling is known as Toto Good Food. Toto Good Food is a universal name which doesn't have a religion, which doesn't have a language. It's equally understood across north to south and east to west, and it stands for good food. The support which will be provided will be all kind of offline and online marketing support material to enhance the consumer footfall, to enhance the income on street. There is a whole lot of traction on this on social media with the government, where they themselves are enabling this project to actually make sure that it's expanded and the right of the street vendors are protected. Under government program also, they're supporting Ganymede to enable the credit lending of rupees 10,000 to the as a capital investment for the people who want to come and put up street carts on street. It's a great opportunity at this point in time when economy is opening, one of the low cost model, whereas there's hardly any investment, but returns in year one only with the franchise opportunity. This is how our kitchen looks like, which is very neat and clean, which produces 20,000 units. It has hot and cold storage facility along with delivery and dispatch counters. It does have consistent quality measures with processes and systems in place, and the franchise operations with complete guidelines and modules as to how do you run such kitchen which can provide safe and hygienic food on street. These are some of the real pictures of the venture which we have as to how they produce bulk and mass production. These are our food trucks which run in city, which can deliver safe and hygienic food at every street and corner of the country. This is our cart, which has got the facility of keeping food warm for 2 hours through solar power. These are some of the retail outlets whom we have trained to serve safe and hygienic food on street. We have around 278 such branded outlets in Indore today who actually serve this food on street for the consumer. They are mapped, trained by us, mapped in our Toto app system to monitor and ensure that their income is enhanced from X to Y in coming months. These are our food trucks in operation. These are our carts in operation. These are some of the real pictures of how the venture has seen traction in melas, in local bazaars, in parks, in IT hubs, in vegetable mandis, in hospitals, near hospitals and near college areas. These are some of the shop-in-shop opportunity as well, wherein people approach to put up, if there is space available, to also put up these kind of shops. Very small square feet you need, around 50 to 90 square feet area is only which you need. It's a low cost but high return model because of the square feet area. It's a very simple financial for kitchen. You invest 40 lakhs. Government gives subsidy under the processor program, which is close to 14 lakhs at the end of 1 year. Franchise fees is 20 lakhs. Total setup cost is around 46 lakhs net, and payback period is 1 year, 1 month. For distributors who will put up 100 such street outlets and carts, the setup cost is 26 lakhs. Franchise fees is 20 lakhs. Total setup cost is 43 lakhs and payback period is 1 year, 3 months. It has an opportunity of selling the franchises further, which means essentially zero investment, but returns from month 1 of the investment. Each of these 100 outlets has standing opportunity of co-branding, of putting packaged food onto it, also putting more brands like Pepsi, Coke, other brands, water brands, chocolate, confectionery brands to enhance income from these outlets, and B2B catering as well, these are the low-hanging fruits for additional income other than the per unit income sale. This is our team. The team is highly rewarded and recognized in the industry to run professional brands. They have all worked in corporate MNCs and Indian MNCs to build a brand, to run businesses, to create profit turnaround. So the team is highly confident from strategy to execution, very unique team which has strategy and execution all capabilities along with managing financials to ensure that the investments cannot see downturn, it has to only see upturn to enhance income and give you the returns which we are promising. The expertise of the team lies in information technology, managing processing centers, managing price risk management, which is integrated value chain to deliver food on street at 10 rupees. brand franchise management with complete marketing capabilities in-house, and proprietary intelligence of IT technology, placement, product formulation. We have series of chefs working with us to localize the food to manage the taste bud of the city. That's all about our venture. We are now open for the Q&A. I would be happy to answer any kind of queries and concern you have about the venture, and would welcome you to partner and be the part of the Toto family.
Thank you, Nilima. Very, very good presentation, very elaborate, and this also shows that the capability you have in the team, which is come together for a very special cause. And I don't see this as just a commercial cause here. This is also a very strong contribution to change and empower the street food situation in India. You know, so street food has multiple challenges, and this is a very large employer in the country. It has a large empowerment to our social structure. It also fulfills a need of people who feel hungry and they want affordable food at the market. And a very right point Nilima mentioned, it's not for people who say, I love street food. I mean, people like all of us, we love street food, but we just go there and enjoy. But people who live on street food, concept is for that. There's a big differentiation in that. The differentiation is that somebody who eats 2 times or 3 times out of the same cart needs affordability, needs hygiene. So this program has been the favorite for almost all ministries for many years. They've been trying to crack that. This program has been driven and given to FSSAI for looking at because how they can put hygiene, because last 5-6 years, while on one side we are putting FSSAI in terms of hygiene quality, safety standards and so on and so forth. And then you have a larger India, which is still not coming in the radar of that because of the inabilities, inefficiencies, broken supply chain, a lot of other things which are very, very difficult. Now, the fundamental operation structure, if I have to educate our investors, is that a typical this cart is driven by 1 or 2 or 3, 4 people who procure whatever materials they procure. They have no ability to procure high quality raw material. So they obviously, because they have to serve cheap, they buy cheap. Because they buy cheap, and they use the tools which are very inefficient. Most of them, they run on kerosene, they run on other ability of cooking methodologies and so on and so forth. So very inefficient equipments they use, which means that they put more fuel, they put more time, the whole cycle of cooking structure takes or consumes a lot of things. So they get into many challenges. Quality is one challenge, safety is one challenge, inefficiencies in a challenge, throughput, which means that their output also is a big challenge. While they have more demand, but they are not able to service the demand because
Absolutely.
they are inefficient in terms of doing it. So what Nilima and team has done is that they have picked up the opportunity and said, let the opportunity be like that, and let's pick up the inefficiencies and try to recover those inefficiencies. So inefficiencies to me was very clearly, how do we get the better supply chain? So they picked up that and addressed that. Second, how do you bring better equipment so that we are able to deliver higher throughput, higher quality of product? So that's another efficiency. So take out the back of the house capability of this so he can concentrate only on the consumer service. So it means that I will be able to service more because I have to just deliver the goods. I don't have to prepare. Most of the times if you go on a street cart, the poor guy is busy with this kadai making the food, and he has no ability to really understand the customer experience, understand the customer behavior. So all these inefficiencies, these major 4 inefficiencies, they really put out and say, how do we really address that? Now, what they've really built the model is it's broken into 2 parts. One I call the consumer facing business and a back-end business. Now, consumer facing business is these carts, which are hygienically designed, efficient, capex efficient design, energy efficient design. So if you see the cart, it's beautiful design. It's one of the most difficult things to do, that how do you get 100 square feet, deliver throughput, handle a large crowd, create an experience, still cost low. So from putting the solar energy in the top to getting the display counters, which can keep the food heated, to create some kind of a closed structure so it doesn't handle the dust and the other issues. So all these pieces are very, very efficient. So this is what I call your consumer interface business, which is these carts. Now carts are further divided into standard carts, which are self-standing. It can be shop in shop, which means that you are running a departmental store Most of these departmental stores in smaller cities, if you see, have smaller food carts outside. These food carts would give actually money, 10,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees to the departmental store guy because he gets footfall. Everywhere, these kind of, any kind of a busy place, these carts would be outside available. So that's a second, which is more, call it more integrated shop and shop. And then you have a captive facilities. Captive facilities can be colleges, universities, high courts, high traffic locations where people have to come, even registrar offices, where every single day you have thousands of people who come in and they do that. And if you really see any environments which have these kind of, even public transport environments, typical regional bus stands, and a lot of these places would have a lot of people coming in. So this is one part of the business. The second part of the business, which is also needs engineering, is the production capabilities, their production hubs. So these are two separate businesses they have understood, and though two different capabilities, hence two different partners. One partner is a manufacturing partner, essentially somebody who comes with a very clearly manufacturing capabilities, understands manufacturing product in the right cost structure, and just passing it on to their consumer interface partner, which is a distribution partner. Now, distribution partner has to work on two things. One, get the carts located in the 100 top locations where this there is a demand, and second is empower this last mile operator, the cart operator, and train him on how to run that business. So these are two different capabilities, uniquely so different, and two partners would exist in every city. Say, for example, now let's check Jaipur. Now, Jaipur has an opportunity to do at least 500, it's a big city, at least 500 such carts in Jaipur alone. Now, there will be two partners. One would set up a factory. Factory ideally would be about, I will have a question from Nilima, which means 3,000 to 4,000 with a dry storage, wet areas, cold and refrigerations, and a lot of they have a high volume burners and capability on production unit. We will talk about the production unit. So they would have to set up that, and then the distribution partner would put these carts all over and have operators. These operators would run that. A lot of conversion would also happen, which means that I am running whatever I'm running now, I would convert and take this cart rather than working on my end. So in this value system, the production company would get a margin on every piece which is going on, which means that if I'm doing in every day 50,000 samosas, I get a small margin on every samosa which goes out of my entirety. So I would just handle the production. The distribution also gets a share of the retail business. So this business is phenomenal. I feel they have taken the initiative very well. This is a very revolutionary initiative. This industry is very large. It's a as Nilima said, is about a 400,000 crore lakh industry, which is a very, very large industry for any viewpoint. So Nilima, coming on to the production side of it, what kind of capabilities, equipment, and structure, and which are the areas it needs to be normally in a food production zone, which needs to be done? And if somebody already runs some kind of food production capability, what kind of addition he can do to the equipment and can get started on that?
So food production is a simple thing. There are two kind of people who can come on board. One is who has a kitchen, and in the current environment, kitchen to actually make, basically sweating your asset becomes very difficult. You have a kitchen, how much more you can take out. So restaurants, the people who have back-end kitchens, they are first people who can think about it. While I have said that the total setup cost is 40 lakhs, that means from scratch, bottom up approach, it is 40 lakhs. However, whenever I have seen the kitchens will have chimneys, which will have frying pans, will have those some costs already incurred, exhaust already incurred, cold and hot storage already incurred. In that way, the cost again comes down. This is what facility already is there. I am already in discussion with a couple of people. They have kitchen, then the cost also comes down to sometime close to 15 lakhs because they have the existing setup. And we just add the setups which is required for 20,000 units per day production. So that's like bottom up approach. But the another set of people who can come into the business is food is a lucrative business any given point in time. And you want to come into food business and set up a kitchen. It's kind of not a kitchen, but a factory, which has industrial production of 20,000 units per shift. That means 60,000 unit for 3 shifts. That means in a day, if you have a capability to run 3 shifts, that's the potential. And per unit, you earn certain margins, and that makes the economy more bigger. So that's the kind of capability I'm looking. What kind of people? People who have kitchen experience, people who have their own kitchen, people who have their own setup and facility to run those kitchens, including karigars, including chefs, including people who can manage this kind of inventory management. Places where you will need is definitely a factory area, because you have chimneys, you have fire, you have those things involved in cooking. So obviously it has to be a food safe zone. It needs to have drainage area. It needs to have facility of exhaust area. So these are some of the basic mandates I would look forward. Space required will be close to 2,000 to 4,000 square feet, depending on, that's the range in which we can operate. So anyone who has that space, either you can build it from bottom or you have existing kitchen of that square feet that can be converted to this.
Very helpful, very helpful. And the carts are going to be owned by the distributor, and distributor would then pass it on to operators and also sell them or lease them.
This is an interesting bit, and that's unique about the model. The distributor has to come in between to manage those 100 carts, right from hand-holding them, investing in them. We are there with all the support. 2 kinds of approach can be taken. One, you take the existing street vendors who are already street smart. They are already street vendors. What they need help is just conversion. So convert them to Toto Good Food carts. That's one way to do. Second, there could be some hotspot where there is no carts operational. There is no stalls operation. There you set up a new cart or you set up a new stall. We can lease you those carts, and then you have to buy those carts. The distributor has to buy those carts from us and put it up there. Distributor has the possibility to sell those franchises further as well, so that distributor doesn't incur that cost further, so that it's net a zero investment for distributor.
Very interesting. Now coming to a little bit of a consumer experience viewpoint, because end of the day is food, and street food of India has a variety even on the street, you know, so even a street would talk about multiple things. Where are we positioning ourselves in terms of, because there is a lot of meal option street food available where people would serve a full meals, where people would queue up and I think, and then you have in between snack products which people take, and then there are some, you know, lighter formats which are chaat and all these things. Where are we positioning ourselves? Are we trying to become a very staple meal option, or where do you want to, I think that's one. Second, how do we menu engineer ourselves? Because street food in Madhya Pradesh means, you know, in the breakfast is poha and jalebi, in some other place something else, in some other place you know, it can be another thing. How do we really menu engineer for a particular city or a particular location?
That's an interesting question. The entire venture is for the first time centered around the street vendors and the consumers who consume from them. The venture, so that's been kept at the center. So 2 things which you talked about is, what's the positioning? Positioning is very simple. For the people who believe food is a necessity to survive, I am talking about the basic necessity of roti, kapda, makan. For the people who are on street, food is a necessity. And when you are hungry, what's the food available on street? It is for that necessity food consumption. It is not for those कि आज चलो हमें पानी पूरी खाने का मन हो रहा है तो चलते हैं कुछ साफ खा लेते हैं, या आज हमें समोसा खाने का मन हो रहा है. This is for those who have no choice than to eat on street. So our positioning, that's why, is this is for providing safe food for the people who are on the go, consuming daily meal on street. Now, when I say daily meal, it means 3 things: morning breakfast, afternoon lunch, and evening snacks. These 3 will be available at whichever point you are in the city. You don't have to go and find out a place and sit there for 30 minutes. Wherever you are, food is there in your nearest cart available. So that's the proposition and the positioning for us. You talked about a very interesting thing, the menu localization. As I said, it's a very hyper-local model. Indori samosa is Indori samosa, while when you go to Lucknow, it is khasta kachori. When I go to Orissa, it's gugni. When I go to Bengal, it's again gugni. When I go to Bihar, it's again luchi. So now those are the stuff which we have retained. If you go to Andhra, it will be dosa on streets, it will be idli on streets. I have retained that flavor of the local city, local food, local taste. And that is why we are picking up food processors localized to the city, street vendors localized to the city, employment which is also localized to the city. That means language barrier is also not there. I am not taking a national brand like, I'll give an example, कि एक burger बनाया और पूरी country ने वही burger खाया. No, it's not that. It's like every city has Toto Good food, which is delivered by the localites, made by the localites, served by the localites, and served in the same ecosystem, which is local ecosystem. All we are trying to do is make the value chain neat, efficient, value engineered, and productive for each people in the value chain to maximize the earning. So what does that mean? Street vendors will earn minimum 15,000 to 18,000 rupees. Today their income could be 9,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees. Food processor will earn minimum 3 to 4 lakhs per month. Distributor will earn minimum 2 to 3 lakhs per month. This I have ensured in the value chain, and Ganymede as a company earns 10% of this entire thing. So I have kept a transparent system wherein each stakeholder of the value chain earns and is self-sufficient and not dependent on anyone. And that is why I say it's a huge social currency to be tapped at the bottom of pyramid. And we are liaising with the government to smoothen the chain of which place you should be so that you're not violating street laws, Street Vending Act laws, or you're not violating the congestion or smart city operation project of the government. So that collaboration we do to make the operation smooth. So this is how this entire package comes together as a consumer experience, stakeholder experience, investor experience, all coming together under one platform.
Absolutely, very well said. And are we looking for even larger partners? Say somebody comes from a state and say, let me develop the state with you, and I bring in multiple facilities of production or distribution or something in that sort. While I understand that there are clear capabilities which you have defined, there is a distribution capability, there is a production capability, and this is how the conventional distribution also works. If you see the conventional distribution, there is a Parle-G would have a production partner which they call OEMs, and they would have a distribution partner which would do the distribution. And what Nilima and team is trying to do is that they're bringing in the F&B into the conventional distribution, because the price point, the capability, the turnarounds, the throughputs which are required are very similar to this. So it's a good model. It works like a bread company which would have a production partner and a distribution partner, and that's how the entire FMCG or bakery or confectionery works in this country. So, but would you be open for taking a larger partner? That's one question. Second is, if you can take from a dollar viewpoint, just because we had a debate on that, from end customer to pricing, how do you want to break that dollar into different viewpoints? Say, which means that I sell a samosa at 12 rupees. I'm just putting a number. I don't know what it sells. What is a retailer making? What is the distributor making? What is the manufacturer making? And what is the cost of manufacturing that samosa? Let's do one samosa as a unit economics and try to do that. You don't have to be perfect on number, but we can just pick up from an example viewpoint.
Yes. So first thing first, the beauty about the model at the bottom of pyramid, because it's such a huge pie with 1 crore 50 lakh street vendors. one company can't do justice until everyone comes together. Even if I'm touching 2 lakh street vendors, I'm still touching only 2% of the total population.
Correct.
That's the opportunity. So what it does to us is, what it does in terms of change and mindset for us is, we are not rigid about the partnership. We are flexible. We are open for people right from who are wanting to put one street cart to the people who are wanting to own a city, to actually own the franchise operation of that city itself. What does that mean from a larger partnership point of view? That there can be a franchise partner who can come and say that, look, give me Toto franchise and a brand. I will develop in this state of, say, state of Maharashtra, say state of Madhya Pradesh, say state of UP. I will own this franchise and I will further promote this franchise and build the brand in that city. That opportunity is available. It will entail managing the processing center and managing the street vendors and the carts as well. So those kind of opportunity is available from the larger partnership point of view.
Sure.
Does that answer your question, Gaurav?
Yeah, absolutely. You answered well.
And from the retail point, from the value chain breakup point of view, let's take 10 rupees, because then it becomes easier for everyone to calculate percentages, right? So 50% of the cost actually goes into, around 45 to 50% of the cost goes into raw material cost itself. So that I am keeping it aside. It's like cost to cost. I'm keeping it. So 5 rupees goes out of the conversation. Now in the 5 rupees which is left, 10% is to Ganymede. 25%, around 22% is to the distributor, who further passes on some percentage to retailer depending on the distributor's network. If it is his own 10 outlets, then 22% is his earning. But if it's like franchised outlet, then he has to pass out some 12 to 15% to the further franchise. So that is 22%. Around 14 to 15% is there with the processor, which includes logistics and delivery and managing the kitchen. For kitchen, the income is per unit based, and that is what is those 14 to 15%. However, the income is also from the takeaway counter. So there could be large bulk orders coming straight to the kitchen, right? So those are the bulk orders, B2B orders, B2B catering orders. And from the distributor, there are two kinds of earning. One is per unit, as I said, it's 22%, which is, I have been an FMCG person for last 22 years in sales marketing. I have not seen any distributor getting 22% kind of margin. I've always seen them getting 5%, 6%. In FMCG, it was never more than 4. But this is 22% to them because they are the one building the network. So it's like network margin. Plus, they also earn by selling the franchise of Toto, which is selling the micro franchise of Toto. So these are the two set of income, and that is why the payback period is so low. In 1 year, you get your payback also. Aaj ke time mein, to get that investment, 2 saal ke niche, no business can give you any payback. So that's roughly the value chain calculation from 10 rupees point of view.
So I will take 2 quick questions and then I'll invite Sonia to take up further questions. One question is coming from Farooq, which he wants to really see a compelling reason. Why would a current street vendor convert himself into Toto? And while I have an answer, but I would like you to give that answer to him. Outside the compelling reason of consumer shift. Consumer shift itself can be a big reason, and that is my second point. Somebody's asked that why after in this pandemic this would grow. So so every shift which has come in the market has always been compelled by not by commerce, not by the industrialization, not by anything. It was always driven from consumer. So when the consumer starts shifting, everybody has to shift and comply by that. So there's a long-awaited shift which was there, and this pandemic has actually created the greatest impact on that. Today, nobody is more nervous than any people on the street who eat at this place. on one side, their livelihood is about eating out the street because they have no ability to feed themselves outside, not eating out. The second is that they can make choices. If I see a branded small kiosk, which is more hygienic, cleanly kept, and I see openly being cooked kind of environment, which has no hygiene, as a consumer at any strata of society you might be, you will now go to Toto rather than going to that. So that is a big compelling reason coming from consumer. But let's leave the consumer even from a consumer viewpoint, but just from a mathematics viewpoint, let's take a debate that what is the value in terms of, why would a small street vendor now shift to a Toto?
You have answered it, Gaurav. You know I think I don't need to add. I'll just add one thing into this. Look at in two ways. One, consumer. While you and me, all of us are working out of home, trying to order from Swiggy, Zomato, don't go out. But delivery boys are still coming to your home. Courier boys are still coming to your home. They are on street. Constructions is still happening. Labor is still working. Factory workers are still going out. Painting jobs, painters, they are still on the street. Servants, drivers, they are still coming to work, and they have no other place to eat than on eating on street. And that is why I said that consumer here are the people who eat on street. They have no other choice. And that's the biggest compelling reason. The biggest downturn is pandemic. And the beauty of the model is in the pandemic time when the entire world is shut down, still street business is happening. चाय वाला ने चाय की दुकान खोली है, आप सड़क पे जाओ, उसके पास आपको आज भी ग्राहक मिलेंगे, भले ही मैकडी बंद हो, वाव मोमोज बंद हो, जंबो किंग्स में कस्टमर्स नहीं है, क्योंकि वहाँ और मेरे जैसे लोग जाते थे और हम घर पे बंद हैं. So that's biggest shift which I am seeing, and this is the biggest proof of the model that in the worst of the recession, the model is working. The economic point of view, आज के डेट में street vendor earns 6 to 9,000 rupees per day from a street outlet for a family of 5 to 6. 9,000 रुपए 6 लोगों की फैमिली है जो दिन रात सुबह 3 बजे से उठ के प्रिपरेशन में लगती है, 6 बजे आपको पोहा और समोसा सर्व करने के लिए. In this model, they save that 3 to 6 hours, 3 to 6 का जो time of working है, पूरी family की उसमें engagement, वो सब is saved. They have to get up in the morning, from the factory, food comes to the stall. Street vendor has to just sell from there. Number one benefit. Number two benefit, main chief vendor, chief income earner अगर बीमार पड़ गया तो उसका ठेला बंद है और street stall भी बंद है, क्योंकि बनाएगा कौन और जाके बेचेगा कौन. इस केस में आपको खाली बेचना है, उनकी वाइफ हो या उनके बच्चे हो, कोई भी खड़े हो के वहाँ बेचेंगे, क्योंकि प्रमोशन मार्केटिंग का काम कंपनी कर रही है. इट्स अ ब्रांडेड आउटलेट. थर्ड पॉइंट, उनकी जो पोर्टफोलियो है आज लिमिटेड है बेसिस व्हाट दे कैन कुक. इफ आई कैन कुक ओनली समोसा एंड चाय, आई विल ओनली कुक समोसा एंड चाय. बट इस केस में क्या हो रहा है, कंपनी इज कमिंग विथ अ मेनू ऑफ असॉर्टमेंट ऑफ 20 आइटम्स, राइट फ्रॉम कोक, पेप्सी, वाटर बॉटल, कन्फेक्शनरी to samosa, kachori, dokla, bread pakoda, and zillions of more options, including chaat preparation options, and namkeen packed food selling options as well. So I am bringing a mall near your shop. You choose what you want to sell. You don't have to worry to prepare. Just because of this basic thing of 3 items से 25 item आप उस 3x6 कार्ट से बेच पा रहे हो, आपकी income is enhanced from 10,000 rupees to maximum of 25,000 rupees and minimum of 15 to 18,000 rupees. And that's the biggest compelling reason why street vendors want to be the part of the program. And we have enrolled around 278 street vendors in our program till now in Indore. Does that help understand how and what's the compelling reason?
Sonia, your questions and remarks on the industry?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nilima ji. I think you have dissected the entire business model. But before I take up questions, maybe I was making note of some of the questions which I've tried to club together, which have come from many of our viewers. And I would just say, global street food has been a global phenomena, and you'll find every country, has their local food which is sold on the street. And India has a very big culture of street food and a lot of snacking trend, which has been mostly run by a lot of these family street vendors traditionally. And this is one category which has, in fact, in the last many years, has seen incredible growth. And the rising concern, which has become today more prominent, is because of the pandemic, the health hazards, sanitization issues, illegal issues, which are usage of public and private areas. These are not licensed places in many locations. I think MP is one of the states which has some regulations on the street food, but many of the locations and states don't have any formal regulations. So I feel the opportunity is very big, and one company, like you said, cannot do justice. There are crores of these vendors, 1 crore 50 lakh vendors outside, and the need has not been addressed by anybody. All these years we have seen street food coming in the fine dining to the premium, even to the Michelin star restaurants, and we have actually eaten golgappas at 700 and Maggie at 400 rupees, but nobody has actually gone to actually address this issue. So I feel this is the need of the hour, where we need to replicate the experience of the roadside vendors in a very clean and a hygienic environment, fast delivery, on-the-go consumption, and convenience, and also I would say a reduction in waste and manpower, which is very critical
Yes, and yeah.
in this aspect. And third is pricing, because the consumer on the street is very price sensitive. And I don't know, I was going through your presentation also. So I think almost every product is priced at a standard of 10 rupees. So no matter what you buy, everything can be bought at a 10 rupee thing. So I'll ask some questions, Nilima ji. The first question which I want to ask is obviously is on the regulations and licenses which need to be obtained, because you're currently running in Indore, which has more than 40,000 odd vendors, and you've tried to convert some of them, which is about 200 odd numbers that you talked about. And this city still has some policy and regulations. How does that affect maybe the expansion or conversion? Because and a lot of that depends on how regulated this environment is. So any help that you will do or extend to your partners in the cities, or what is that they need to do and take care of when they start a business, especially when it comes to regulations?
So good thing about this industry is, while it is unorganized, it's organized. It's socially organized. Street vendors don't compete with each other. They all see themselves as community. There is no price cutting which happens on street. And they are a community which is well networked with the local municipality. So while there is strict regulations because of Street Vendors Act of 2014, which came into play, government under Swanidhi program, and I would want people to know this, government is also trying to work through a lot of awareness and communication at this point in time. Through Swanidhi program, they are enrolling the street vendors across the country now under this program, providing them digital identity cards so that you can do business on street, right? And this is being tackled and managed state-wise by the government. And I would want the people who are on the webinar today to go and search about government Swanidhi program. And within that program, government is also giving close to 10,000 rupees of capital loan to the street vendors to enable them to enhance the business. So that, why am I giving this example? It's no longer illegal because government is issuing digital identity cards. No longer illegal because government is giving bank loans for 10,000 of capital. That means it's recognized, it's supported. And companies like us collaborate. We have very good collaboration and network with government to work around this at the local level, at the central level. The distributor partners who will come on board with us will be the further extension of our network, and the processors who will come on board will be further extension of our network. And that's the community, and that is why that community cluster approach is a extremely important cluster approach. To identify, we will provide support in identifying location which is not hindrance to the congestion. in the city, which is not hindrance to municipality, which is also a natural congregation point of the city, so that business is not impacted. So that smart location, smart placement is our expertise along with the local government. So that takes care of your concern, Sonia, isn't it?
I think we lost
We
Sonia.
lost Sonia, yeah.
No, it's very well explained. I think there is a much bigger need for the framework to recognize, and more there is a organized approach to this whole thing. You know, what government is not able to address is that people who come as a migrant labor and suddenly put something somewhere and don't have any registration, while when you have a distributor who would run in a framework and with all the approvals and structure, it will become much more organized. And when there's a positive alternative coming in, then government can also work on creating those kind of changes which needs to be done. So it's a very
I feel government's job is to create policies and norms and facilitate credit, which they are doing fabulously. This is for the first time government has come up with programs which is at bottom of pyramid, truly bottom of pyramid.
correct.
Professionals like us, the distributors who partner with us or the food processor who partner with us, and Franchise India kind of professionals, our job is to create professionalism and the integrated value chain which can work efficiently around it.
Correct.
And that is what we will bring together to ensure that there is no laws which has been, violated while doing the business. That's the beauty of this model.
Absolutely. And this was actually, as I said, many companies in past have also done. McCain was given a project by Government of India that to go out and organize the street food and things like that. But every company needed operators. So I think a lot of back-end companies which have been encouraged to create that, they needed a brand like Toto to come in front. And slowly a lot of other companies would come along to work on food engineering, for food structuring. And so all these companies would participate. I mean, it can be companies like Cargill or a larger farming companies and solution companies. They would all come along with you to create a lot of these independent solutions. So Sonia, a few of your last questions.
So I'll take a few of these questions together. So one, Nilima ji, is a question on the resources. What kind of resources would a distributor and perhaps production capacity would need to manage? One. Second, if you can also talk a little bit on the supply chain. And how is that supply chain managed? What are the local supplies which he needs to procure, and what kind of supplies would come from the company? So these two, and then maybe two more questions, and then I'm done.
Sorry, Sonia, can you repeat your first question?
So one is on the supply chain. How is that managed? How are these supplied to the local production? What kind of local supplies do we procure at the local level? If there is centralized supplies from the parent is one. And my second question was on the HR structure. What kind of resources will be deployed between both these capacities at the production and the distribution?
So production will need basically a production head to run the production and a couple of karigars which can cook on these kind of infrastructure which is there, and probably forecast and demand management for planning their production on a daily basis, because it's an app-based thing. So managing production of certain quantity on an hourly basis, it will need the complete process management and the supply demand forecast management, production capabilities, delivery capabilities. Basically, you have to store, once you have produced, you have to store as a FIFO model. You have to store it so that you are always delivering fresh and hot product in the market. So that needs to be ensured. And managing the delivery, the bags who are delivering it is clean. The vendors who are hired to deliver it are fully trained on safe hygienic standards as per FSSAI standards. The factory is maintained neat and clean as per FSSAI standards, and post-COVID hygiene norms which needs to be maintained. So this is a complete infrastructure, from infrastructure to people. This is what is required from the processing center point of view. Distributor will need MIS, distributor will need a couple of sales team, maybe 5-6 people per 100 for 100 outlet management. Basically, I would say for every 25 outlets, there has to be one salesperson who can actually go around in the beat plan to ensure the norms, the brand, the guidelines, the pricing, the selling, everything is managed well. And also sometimes identifying, hunting and mapping the city for more such outlets to come in. So distributor will need close to 5 to 6 people, sales team, one MIS person who can download, manage, analyze the report of sales, basically ensure the turnover of these outlets. So simple formula we have is each store needs to do a turnover of 3,000 rupees per day, right? And that turnover needs to be managed by the distributor, because on that turnover, distributor also earns margin of 5 to 6% of that turnover. So that turnover management is distributor's responsibility. That takes care of your people and HR management of distributor and the manufacturer. As per the supply chain thing, what is the local supply chain which needs to be managed? If you are procuring, if you are making a samosa, what do you need? You need potato to be purchased. You will need certain masalas which will be pre-packed available, and you will need certain maida and salt and other stuff which needs to be pre-procured and kept. All these things are inventory management. Those supply chain we are centralizing because these are known as price risk management. In a samosa, 50% cost is only potato. So if potato becomes 100 rupees, samosa cannot cost 20 rupees. So potato remains 20 rupees or 100 rupees. That volatility is managed by us. So that supply chain is taken care by us so that price is not changed. So that company will manage directly along with the food processors to ensure large scale supply chain management. Rest all which they manage is only delivery, production and inventory and forecast and demand.
All
Does
right.
that address the question?
Absolutely. I think that's well explained. Nilima ji, one more question. One I wanted to understand, because I see a lot of inquiries which are coming in location. They feel they don't have too many street vendors. What should be the minimum number of outlets to maximize the throughput of these production capacities?
Maximum should be 90. Minimum can be 50. See, as I said, to me what's important is each outlet should have a turnover of 3,000 units. 3,000 rupees.
Rupees per day.
Rupees per day. And then you can calculate 3,000 into 90 outlets or say 100 outlets. That's the turnover you want per day. Some distributor might come back and say, I will give you this turnover in 60 outlets only. I am fine with it. You might come back and say, I would give you this turnover in 100 outlets. I will be fine with it. But I will vary to go beyond 100. Because then it will drop the quality, it will drop the
logistics.
It will drop the logistics, it will increase the cost of logistics, which will disturb the supply chain.
Right. And okay, and one more thing which I want to also understand, is there any investment by the vendor, the guy on the cart? If it is a conversion model, what investment would he end up making on top of whatever he has done?
Now this investment is, we are making distributors, it's distributors and Ganymede's investment. These are the lowest population people. I would want them to be free of burdens. Our job is to enhance their income. That's why we are saying in the model, it's conversion plus putting up a new employment or street employment on street. So I would keep that minimum to the minimum. It ranges from 25,000 rupees to, अगर किसी को फूड ट्रक लगाना है तो अगेन 75,000 रुपीज, और किसी को अगर एक पूरा आउटलेट ही लगाना है तो क्लोज टू 2 lakh rupees. Depends on what kind of format is our distributor partner is picking up in the city. Some cities may not have carts at all. So there they will have to go and pick up street stalls, food trucks. So those are some things, or maybe a cafe kind of arrangement, 2-3 such cafes. Cafes will cost around 2 lakh rupees of investment. Food truck, I would encourage जिनके पास existing food truck है, not to go and buy a food truck for Toto, That will be a high cost investment again. Agar aapke paas existing food truck hai, convert it to Toto because that's easiest. And put a manpower and run it. Then it's like in the range of 30,000 of investment. Agar aapke paas existing stall hai, rebrand it with Toto, so that the investment is not beyond 25,000 to 30,000 rupees, and
Right.
earn from the first month only 12 to 15,000 rupees.
Great. Is there any royalty which any partner has to pay? Any kind of
Not in the
royalty?
first year, because first year we are seeking more of partnership for us to expand and scale up the model. But from the second year, 2%.
And is it also paid by the street vendor, guy at the counter?
I would want them to be free of burdens. It's only the royalty is only between company and the distributor, company and the food processors.
Okay. Great. Any priority cities, Nilima ji, that you want to perhaps point out?
I would say there are great cities like Indore, Lucknow, Jaipur, Bhubaneswar, Cuttack, Hyderabad, Secunderabad. These are some of the priority cities I would look forward, because these are very high on street eating and street consumption. But again, I'm saying it's a food for necessity. It's not linked to street food lovers. So country is an opportunity to me. Asia market is an opportunity to us. I would look forward to for those markets too, but the outlets, the cities which I talked about are easy, low-hanging cities.
Great. Great. See, we've tried and covered as many questions we could, and maybe with this we'll wind up, and many other things which I see people writing to us. We'd like to take it up one-on-one with you on a date which can be maybe one of the days in the coming week. And with this, we can wind up this session. But before we close, any message that you want to pass on to the audience on the webinar and listening live on Facebook?
No, thank you so much to both of you, Gaurav, Sonia. It's been a great discussion with you today. I really appreciate the understanding and support you have given for us to scale up this model. I look forward, this is the right time, right opportunity from both social point of view, from economic point of view, because the model gives you both socio-economic power in your hand to generate more employment on street, to rebuild the business which you have lost in the pandemic, to recreate a financial model with your current assets. And so I would encourage more and more people to look at this business opportunity not just as a financial opportunity, but also a social opportunity to actually create all the win-win situation for not just for business, but for communities, for street vendors, and for companies like us who want to create and expand, scale these operations across India and Asia markets. So thank you so much for all your support till date, Gaurav, Sonia, you've been great on this.
Thank you, Nilima. I think this is the beginning of a big revolution, and what you're trying to create is a dream project for many large FMCG companies, including large corporates like Tata, Unilever. They all have in some form a big participation, while they don't openly say, but they have a very big stakes on this street food. Unilever revenues would be ranging anything upward of 1,200 to 1,500 crore, which really comes from the street food vendor. Tatas also have the similar kind of a stake through their tea brands and I think, and a lot of other players historically have survived on this industry. So this industry has also empowered, corporates have also benefited on that. So this would be a time where everything in entire industry should come together and maybe work with Toto, because you've taken the initiative further to come along with you. I don't see a reason why companies like Nestle, companies like Tata's, companies like Unilever would not like to be a partner with Toto, because we all know where Maggie is selling, where people are eating.
Maggie points are the same kind of initiative. Yeah.
We all know Unilever sells a lot of products to these street vendors, but they also have a desire to uplift it. But there's somebody has to do a job, which you are, I think, to do it. So great, congratulations to the entire team. You're a very credible team, and Franchise India is very proud to have a partnership with you and look forward for taking this relationship ahead. We'll continue to spread the word and take the Toto brand to different markets. Thank you very much, Nilima.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Thank you,
Sonia.
Nilima
Thanks,
ji. I think
Gaurav.
it's not only a big cause, but a very big opportunity which can be monetized by all the partners. And there's a great work that you're doing in transforming the life of millions of people out there on the street. And we wish you all the best in
Thank
this
you so much.
journey of yours. Thank you
And if
so
you're-
much. Over to
Thank
you,
you,
Archana.
Sonia.
And if you're interested in partnering with Nilima and the team and taking the discussion forward, please reach out to our business hotline number. Talk about a little profile of yours. If you get a profile, we will be able to take the discussion ahead. And the hotline number is 971-76-83838. Over to you, Archana.
Thank you so much, all the friends, family who have joined us today for this great brand. Thank you so much, Nilima ji, for all your support, all your efforts. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much, our panel member Gaurav sir and Sonia ma'am, for sharing your insights, your views. Yes, rightly said by Gaurav sir. You can share your suggestions, feedback. You need more information on the brand, rest of the things. You can connect with us at our business hotline number, which is 9717683838. That's the number where you can submit your profile, and we'll definitely like to help you on the account. You can also connect with Gaurav sir and Sonia ma'am at their respective LinkedIn ID. That's the information on your screen. But before you go for today, we have another great brand enjoying the legacy of more than 100 years at their place, Ghasita Ram. Yes, Mr. Kunal Bajaj, who's a director at Punjabi Ghasita Ram Halwai Private Limited, coming directly interacting with you tomorrow digitally, because it's a special Sunday. It's a special brand for each one of you. They're India's leading manufacturer, suppliers, and retailer of traditional sweets. Do not miss this chance if you want to go for business where you have the franchisee for such kind of the opportunity. Do join us tomorrow sharp at 12 p.m. Share your profile. You can also book your slot at our business hotline number. We will share the link with you for tomorrow's webinar. Please do registration today so that sharp tomorrow you can join us for this great webinar. Thank you so much everyone for joining us today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and eat healthy. That's more important.
Thank you so much, Archana. Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks, Sonia.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Thank you so much, Nilima ma'am. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.